Hello and welcome back to Student Blog. In this series of Terraform, we'll be looking at deploying virtual machines on VMware vSphere, vCenter using Terraform. So for this, uh, we have a couple of requirements. So we should have an VMware environment running on whether it is vCenter 7, ESXi 7, or even you can go for vCenter 8, ESXi 8, and you should have an Active Directory which is our vCenter is configured to use AD as authentication for login, and we should have an Visual Studio Code to write our code, Terraform code, and we'll be using a Windows box for that. And also vCenter, we need to we should have a couple of things already configured, then only we can proceed with provisioning the VMs. So for that, let's see what are the requirements. First in place, as I said, we should have an vCenter, and we should have credentials available like a username, password to log into vCenter, and our Terraform should able to deploy VMs using that username, password. We should have an we should have a vCenter name. We should also create a template because we'll be using that template as a golden image to deploy virtual machine. And also we need to grab the details of vCenter cluster name, data center name, and the data store name, as well as network VLAN details. And also we should we should reserve an IP for our new VM. So what is this how we are going to do this means like in our previous videos we saw like deploying virtual instance VMs in AWS. So same way we'll be doing that, but the prerequisites we'll look into that before that. So yeah, let's jump onto our lab. So this is our jump box which we'll be using, and I already configured my vCenter where you can see this is an vCenter 8 version 8. You can see here. So it's vCenter 8, and I have two ESXi boxes. Both are on ESXi 8 version 8. So before, as I said, before you write the code, we should have a handy the data center name like DC, and the cluster name is NC, and it's not mandatory, but you can have the ESXi details also. And also you should have data center data store names like I'm using LDS1 for deployment, so you need to keep this all handy, as well as a network. When you look at the network, I have a prod 102 on both, and we have a switch, a DV switch configured. So for now we'll be using this prod 102 VLAN for our environment. So looking at the code. So as this is the first video for deploying a virtual machine in vCenter, so I write a simple code. Just to build a VM using a template. So in our next video we'll be looking at we'll deploy a VM, and we also customize the VM, and we'll add the server like virtual machine to the domain. So we'll do work on that later, but for now we'll work on a simple code to provision a VM. So I'm not using any variables in this class, so we'll just write a simple code. Like as you can see that I directly mentioned here the username which will be logging to a vCenter, and the password is the password which this is in production we are not going to do in this way, but as a basic basic instance like this is lab, so we are doing this, and in our next class we can add variables, and we can run the code. So we do have vCenter name, so that is vcsa01.dc.com. So as usual, like we need to verify the SSL as true, then only we can run the code without any errors. So or else it will in the first step itself it will ask you to fix it. And so here what we are doing is we are trying to get the details. We are trying to get the like whatever the data resource available in our vCenter. First of all, we'll get the IDs of the particular infrastructure. Like you can see here, like for vSphere data center, our data center name is DC. So whenever you write this code and try to apply the Terraform, what happens is it will connect to our vCenter and it will check whether DC is available, whether NC is available, like cluster is available with this name, data store is, and it will pull that ID of that particular. And then when we declare the resources, we'll use that pool ID as well as data center ID here, and we can provision the VM. So for that we are going to we are going to declare these. So this is the first step. So here you can see here, as I said, let's do one thing. So when you are going to deploy a virtual machine manually, whatever, first of all you need to understand what is that you are doing, then only we can it will be easy for you to write a code. So let's go to our template. So we are using template 1, which is Windows 2016 template. So this is already built with all our customization, like whatever the requirements, everything we already put it there, and we convert that virtual machine to template. So whenever you are going to deploy a virtual machine, like we'll be doing in this way, like we'll create a new VM from this template. So first of all, we'll give the VM name. So I'm just giving something VM02. So what I'm doing is what are the required fields, what are the required data we need, we are trying to understand it. So here we need vCenter first in place, then we need a data center, then it will ask for any specific folder like a dev folder or a production folder. So it's optional, but if you want, you can we can give the folder name so that VM will be provisioned in particular folder. Let's take this as a production, and when you click next, then it will ask for our cluster name. So you'll give the cluster name, and then we'll go for data store name. So we'll see, like you can see here the available data store, and in that also, like what are the disk formats you are looking for, like thin provision or thin provision lazy zeroed. So that we have to mention. So obviously in the code we'll be mentioning that same thing, and after that when you click next, it will ask for customization. So same customization we'll be using it there. Like if you select hardware and when turn on, like what happens is when you provision the VM, automatically it will turn on. And using Terraform, we'll be using our own customization. We are not going to use the VMware customization. So when you click next, what happens is you need to give the CPU, how many CPUs you want, how much memory you want, what is the hard disk size. In that SCSI controller, what type of SCSI controller you are looking for, like VMware Para Virtual or LSL or Logic SAS. We have to give all these details when you write a code for it. And also network card, and what is the adapter type, you have to mention it, and what is the VLAN ID you are going to use. All stuff, any other stuff you want to add, you can mention it. And same thing you are going to, when you are write the code, you have to mention all these, then only you will get a right output, and you will get a VM with all the configurations you require. So I'm just trying to show you guys what all the mandatory things you require, and which are non-mandatory and mandatory stuff. So once you click finish, it will be provisioning. Same thing using the Terraform, we'll be using it. So I hope you guys have an idea what all we require now. So now we are trying to get the data for name of the cluster here, name of the data center, and this is the storage LDS1, and this is the network card VLAN details. So if you see here, like is mentioning that particular instance, like what is the, if you see here, like it will give the data source name, what is the data source here, all stuff, and template name, template 1. So once you give all, then we'll be trying to provision the resources. So where we are mentioning here as VM name Terraform VM, and resource pool ID. So obviously whatever the data data instance we collected, will be declaring here, and number of CPUs, memory, and firmware is very important, because you have two types, one is BIOS and one is EFI. So like few versions, if you declare if you don't declare EFI, by default it will provision with BIOS, and it won't boot up. So in our case, we went with firmware as EFI, and so guest ID is what template ID, which we already collecting the data in data source from here. So, and SCSI type, what type of SCSI type template is using, same we'll be using here. So we'll declaring a network interface, you can see here. So same thing, whatever template is using, that will be used. And disk size, you can declare the disk label here, whatever you want you can mention it. And also you can, for example, your template C drive is 30 GB, you can make 40 GB, so that when it is provisioned, it will be provisioned with 40 GB of disk space. And you can see here thin provision, we mentioned it as true, and eagerly scrub we mentioned as false. So cloning process starts from here. So once this customization, like inside the Windows, inside the template, like VM, we want to give the computer name as TFVM01, so we can mention the same here, TFVM01, and the password is a local admin password for the particular VM, and we are going to assign IP here for the as IPv4 with subnet /24, and the gateway we are provisioning as 192.168.1.254. So this is a simple basic script we are going to execute. So we are not going to use any variables for now. So let's do it now. Go here and open PowerShell script, and I will initiate Terraform. So it's successfully initiated. Then Terraform apply, and I don't want to make it auto approve, so we'll just run it like this for now. You see here, so before you execute before you apply, you can see here what all are going to happen here. So memory, all stuff, it will give some information here. So power on scripts, all stuff we didn't given, but we can mention that also. So, and you can see here what is the customization happening here. This is the template UID, and this is the gateway. It is applying the IP as 1.50, and you can see here the controller type SCSI, and you can see a couple of things like thin provision is true, and IO assures everything. That is all in specific. If you want to declare, you can declare it, or else you can ignore it. So you can see here data store ID, everything is coming up for the disk. Network also can see like what is the adapter type, whatever the template is having, same is will be inherited here. So and you can see here MAC address, everything is unknown, because once it is deployed, then it will give the information. And this is the VLAN ID, so network 3016. So plan is ready. Once you say yes, then it will execute it, and it will start creating the VM. So you can see here it's creating the VM now. Let's go to vCenter and see what's going on. So it's cloning the VM now. Okay, so I just given the name, but I didn't save it. That is the reason. If you see here, computer name and VM name are different, so I just changed it, but somehow I didn't save it. That is the reason you are seeing as a TFVM, and whereas the computer name is TFVM01. That's okay. So whenever if you do any changes, make sure to save it, or else what happens is the guest OS VM name will be different, computer name is different, and VM name is different. That's okay. So VM is provisioned pretty quick, and if you see web console, so it will reboot for customization. So you can see here, so it will ask when backend it is applying the customization, OS customization. Once it is done, so it will start reboot. So what happens is it will run sysprep, and it will change the server SSID, all stuff. So it will reboot now. It will take few seconds. Meanwhile, you can see what's going on with Terraform. So still you can see here it's showing as still creating. So let's wait. So once customization is done, it gets rebooted. Then you will see the actual DNS name and IP here, whatever we given, whatever we mentioned it here, like 1.50 and TFVM01, that you will be seeing there. So let's wait. Now it just rebooted. So meanwhile, we'll look at the documentation. So when you go and search for VMware vSphere, so version is 2.9.3, and you can see here resources as well as data sources. So when I was also writing the code, I was taking help from here. So I just look at these resources syntax, what is mentioned here, and I use the same. So you can see here for data center, the resource is data center, VMware, like vSphere underscore data center. If you see data source, like it will be like a data, whatever you mentioned, data vSphere underscore data center, and we'll give the data center name, whatever is there in the cluster. So same thing for network also. We will if you have an port, we have enough distributed switch, will be given this same thing, like this is the, like you can see here, data center, and this is a host name, and like all details for a distributed switch will be provisioning, like will be providing. You can see here. So same thing, like using this we can do, like for virtual machine, like you can use this syntax using the customization. Also you can use this customization, like if you want to install anything on the VM, what you can do is you can use this run once command list, whatever, like you can copy the installer on C temp or somewhere, and you can give the path, and whenever the VM is provisioned, automatically it it will run execute that command and it will try to install the application. So apart from this time zone, so each time zone will have a unique code. If you want any country code in specific, you can mention the code, and you can, if you Google it for time zone code, it will list it, and you can put the code, and post deployment you will be able to see that server in that particular time zone. So you can just go through these, and obviously you can write the code, and like the way, whatever way you want, you can configure it. So let's go back and see what is happening. So it's ready, and our VM is provision is completed here. Let's see the code. Yeah, it says apply complete and resource 1 is added. So we can log in and we'll try to refresh it and see. Okay, the DNS name is TFVM01 and IP is whatever the IP 1.50 provided, and VM name is TFVM. It is different because we didn't save it when we change it. And when you log in, you will be seeing whatever the customization you applied, it will be available. Same password you are using, so we are able to log in now. So 004 time zone, you can see here what is the time zone actually applied here. And this is the basic machine we have provisioned, but in our next video we'll be looking at customizing, like adding it to the domain, all stuff we'll do it. Also we'll add some space when we provision the VM disk side, and we'll see how it goes. And if you see here, yeah, it's in work group because we didn't add it to domain, and you can see the time zone is like London. IP, everything is okay. We have already enabled RDP on our template, so we are able to see RDP management, and remote desktop is enabled. And yeah, pretty simple, pretty quick, super fast. And 1 minute, if you want to destroy the VM, what we can do, let's see. Okay, this is the account we used. Okay, we see here our VM is running. So what we'll do is we'll destroy it. Terraform. Once you do it, it will ask for confirmation, and it will also give the summary what is going to happen when we approve it. So you see here like all these specifications, null means it won't affect anything, and whatever you see here, so what happens is plan, it will destroy 1, the change is going to happen for 1. So this minus means these all will be destroyed, including the VM. So we can mention, you can see here virtual machine.pm will be destroyed with all the mentioned below. So it is not going to disturb anything already existing, like whatever the data resource we collected, like data center cluster, it won't touch anything. Whatever is created, that will be destroyed. So let's give S and see. So once you do it, pretty quickly it will destroy it. You see here, it's gone now. So it's super fast, and yeah, be careful when you do it in production. And yeah, we are done. So yeah, if you want this code, yeah, definitely whoever require, you can just mail me. I can share this code, or even I can upload it to my Git repository, and whoever require, they can simply pull it from there. And yeah, in our next video we'll look at deploying a virtual machine, Windows virtual machine with customization, adding it to domain and all stuff. And also and in coming videos we'll try to deploy multiple VMs in single instance. We'll do all. And yeah, for now I think we are done with this. And as always, for any queries you can reach out to me on pstudentblog@gmail.com. Thanks for watching, and please do subscribe. Thank you. Bye bye.